Today, we are going to assemble all the parts of our starry sunflower. I'm going to start with my yellow paper that has the parts for the sunflower. I'm going to use my scissors and very carefully I'm going to cut out the circle. Cut all the way around the circle very carefully. This will be the first step in the process. I am then going to cut apart the rows of all the flower petals. Cut each row one at a time. This will make it easier for you to cut out your flower petals. Set them to the side. If for some reason you don't get this part finished in one day, just make sure you have your name on all of your pieces so you can find them again next week. Make sure you're cutting carefully with your scissors. I am now going to cut out a few of my flower petals at a time. Do not cut them all out at the same time. Do a few of them at a time. You want to cut just a few of the flower petals and then we will glue them down. If you cut all the flower petals at the same time and all of a sudden time is up and you have to save it for next week, you have a high chance of losing some of those pieces. So I'm just going to do one row at a time. Now I'm going to flip my circle over backwards. I'm going to glue it together backwards. I'm going to put just a dot of glue on the tip of the petal and then flip it over. I'm going to put a dot of glue on the front of the petal and then flip it over and stick it onto the back of the flower. I do not want those tips showing. I want to make sure that they are behind the circle. So I'm going to put just a dot of glue and then flip it over. And I'm going to continue this for all of my flower petals. Just a dot and then flip it over. You want to put the flower petals close together so that way you don't have any big gaps showing in between. That looks good. Continue this process all the way around your flower petal. I highly recommend that you just cut one flower petal and then glue it down at a time. You cut one, you glue one, you cut one, you glue one. This way you won't have to worry about missing any pieces next week. That's looking good. This is going to have to go on the drying rack when it's done so the flower can dry. I'm going to go on now and cut out some more of my flower petals. And I'm going to glue these down as well. Once I have cut and glued all of my flower petals, I will be able to move on to the next step. Now if you have some extra flower petals, you can just overlap them in between some of the other flower petals, maybe fill in some of those spaces so that way you're not wasting them. That's what I'm going to do with mine. I'm just going to fill them in. Once you're done gluing all your flower pieces together, you're going to cut out your green stem and your two green leaves. You're going to glue the green stem and the two green leaves onto the blue paper first. If the stem sticks off the edge, you'll just have to trim it with your scissors. Then glue the flower on top. Make sure it's inside of the blue paper and not sticking off the edge. Clean up your stuff and you are all done